Alright guys, welcome back to Outdoors Brews and Barbecue, and we're going to go through a quick little review of the Chargiller Grand Champ offset smoker. I've had the Grand Champ now for a little bit over a year. We're going to go a little bit over the pros and cons. I'm going to start off with the pros. The pros is I like my food nice and smoked. So I do recommend that as a great smoker. As you can see, the smoke's already coming out. It's gone through quite a beating because I do grow about at least once a week, not once a month, once a week. And everyone at work is always hating me because when I heat up that food, nothing like smell like a nice smoky meal. Now, before this one, the predecessor I had to this one was the 50/50 Chargiller, which was half set up like this and then half set up to do gas. Right? Did I ever touch the gas side? Not really. The wife would use just the gas stove that was on the edge. Hence what's behind me, I cut it in half, made it into a tabletop, and made her a little kitchen outside. But let's go back to the actual grilling part of this one. This one I've had now for, like I said, a little bit over a year. You do begin to see a bit of beating, a bit of rusting. That's normal for any grill you have set to over 450 degrees on the offset. The main part of the grill still keeps its nice dark tone, other than the edge near the heat. Tabletop is all depending on how you treat it. Do I really use a tabletop? Not for much other than just holding my tools or putting a plate on there when I'm ready to take stuff out. If I had to compare this one to the 50/50 I had before it, I love that I have more space. Versus the 50/50 before it, I was much more limited on how much stuff I can put in at the same time. Did it take a learning curve? Yes, it did. Learning curve for this was that I had to learn how to control temperature based off of the size of the grill. The other one was smaller, so it would heat up faster. This one takes longer to warm up, hence why I've already closed the lid. I've had it closed now for a little bit under 15 minutes, and I haven't even put anything in there because it's barely reaching a 150 at this point, right? I do kind of go by that gauge up top. The gauge is pretty accurate. If I'm cooking anything fancy and I want to put a probe in it, that's always a plus. You can always control and see what temperature you have your internal temperature of the meat going at, especially if it's a thick chunk. When it's a small, burger, hot dog, patties, flank steak, anything that's thin cooks relatively quick. Of course, closer to the fire, faster it cooks. Further from the fire, the longer you have to give it, the more smokiness it gets to it. As far as trying different woods and different charcoals, I've done that too. The different woods and different charcoals I've tried so far have been applewood, mesquite, hickory. I tend to stick with the hickory and the applewood. Mesquite is really strong. I'm not going to go specifically into brands because I've tried a few. Right now I'm trying with lump charcoal. This is what they call the premium hard lump charcoal. It's by a brand called Fogo. So far it's been pretty decent. But in today's scenario, you're going to see me put in some chicken breasts, you're going to see me put in some flank steaks, you're going to see me put in some sausages, and you're going to see me put in some pork. Right? Those are the ones I'm going to be putting in there. Meanwhile, I'm just going to give it a few more minutes to heat up. All right? If I was to recommend you this grill, this is because you like to smoke your meat and you're dedicated and passionate, as well as patient. Patient is key here. You got to be patient to use this barbecue. If you're someone who likes to just, light it up and immediately throw stuff in, then you can just stick to your regular stick to your regular Weber 22-inch and just grill right there on the spot, or you stick to your regular gas grill, which every lazy barbecue Joe has. But if you're really going to give it some time, give some thought of how you're going to grill your meat, and you're going to give some work into it, the Chargiller Grand Champ offset smoker is definitely an option available out there for anybody who wants to try out a nice offset smoker. Alrighty guys, here we go. I have it at about 300 degrees. I'm ready to put in some meat. I'm going to start off with some sweet Italian sausage. Put that in there, get it ready to roll. Did I make these sausages? I did not. As you can tell, they came prepackaged. Just for time's sake. Something to start buying. Second thing, I got some steak flanks, some thick cut steaks with some steak seasoning on top. These I put away from the fire. I don't put them too close. Too close to the fire means you cook too fast. So I put them somewhere right midline, not right there next to the fire. Next one here is the actual flake steak. These guys, aka for our Latin households, churrasco, I put on the far end away from the fire. And these are probably going to be the first ones I pull out of here. These are not going to be in here too long. I don't want them too dry. I don't want them too cooked. I want them just right and juicy, right for when I start eating them. It's just bite off, ready to roll. You can even cut them into little slices if you got multiple people eating. That's also a possibility you can do. Over here we have pork steaks sliced vertically, seasoned with some barbecue seasoning. These guys, I move around. I start them off close. If I have space after I take out these churrascos / flank steaks, I move them over. All right. And then last but not least is the actual chicken. Chicken is the one thing that's going to take the longest inside this actual grill. So these I tend to put closer to the fire. And some of them I put further from the fire. But my end goal is to cook them all and get that smoky flavor from the offset smoker. Let's work here with some space because we're running out of space here. I like to not put them too close to each other. I don't want any of the meats actually having contact, other than if it's the same class of meat. So it's chicken with chicken, that's fine, but I'd rather not have the chicken touching anything else at the moment. Eventually all this stuff will begin to shrink and real estate space here will begin to open up. Now let's get that closed and get it ready to roll. Now once you got the meats in there, let the gauge recalculate. Make sure you have a steady temperature to determine whether you want to close your exhaust, as I call it, or if you want to reopen or adjust your intake, if you want to compare to car parts, because that's where your cold air is coming out in through, that's where your hot air is coming out through. That all adjusts how hot or this goes right here. Right, and how smoky you can manage and maintain your food as you're cooking it. So mine's right around there, right around the 275, 250. That's where I like to keep it. If it goes anywhere above 300, it's going to cook too quick. It's not going to get that smokiness. All right, let's take a look here, see what we got. All right, so Some of the things here are beginning to take form. Let me get the tongs, not the knife. Alright, so the chicken you can see is already beginning to cook, at least this one back here. Hard to see in the shade, but that one for sure is beginning to cook already. So I might want to move it away from the fire. Alright, the smaller pieces up top, heat tends to go up, right? So these smaller pieces are getting near exit. We call these little grilled tenders. That's definitely getting near an exit. This one still feels a little soft. It's cooking. But these two I'm going to move away from the heat. So I'll maybe put them here versus this one. I'll move it up here. This other small piece I'll move up here too. Let that cook quicker. Sausages are beginning to open up after I sliced them up, which is a good sign. That means they are cooking. These two guys I tend to leave, don't touch until the end. As you can see, most of the stuff I've already flipped, including the skirt steaks, which are slow cooking. This back here, my friends, is a piece of shit brisket my wife decided to buy. You know, one of those pre-made things. I'm literally cooking it just so that she doesn't give me shit. Alright. Let's flip some of these skirt steaks over. They're starting to change color. Of course, the other trick to this is the longer you keep the lid open, the colder this gets. So we're going to reclose this lid. This smaller piece back here, I'll bring up here as well. Why not? Let's close that up. And there we can see the gauge begin to go back up as the lid is now closed. Now remember guys, this is an offset smoker, so it will slowly reheat up. The longer you keep it open, the cooler it gets. If you notice that thing is not staying warm enough to cook the food you're cooking, you need to move over here and then open up this other lid, which is now feeling nice and hot. But that's where all the fire's at right there. And man, is it hot. Man, the hairs on my arm just curled up. Now, if you do have a cast iron pan, that flat top comes in handy. You can put the cast iron pan right on top, and you can actually cook something right off a pan right out here as well. That's the concept behind that flat surface, if you decide to go that route. Alrighty guys, it's been about 2 hours so far. It's been in there going. This third-party wannabe brisket is practically done. This shit already comes pre-sliced. What can I tell you? I'm gonna let it get some smokiness from the offset. Sausages they're on the extreme end of this fire, so they're still smoking out. I'll let those roll. Chicken I already had to take out. I literally only have 2 pieces left, which are soon to come off this grill. Go ahead and get this little guy here close to you. But that one's ready to roll out. And then, let's see here what we got left. We got some pork still cooking, smoking it slowly. 2.5, almost 3 hours in. These I've been trying to make sure they stay away from the fire, but now it's time to speed up the process here. Let's get them closer to the fire. See if we can get them out of this smoker already. And that, my friend, is a little mini episode of Grilling with Outdoors Brews and Barbecue. Until the next round.